Welcome, everybody. This is Lost Element Podcast number uno. We have with us a large array of guests, starting with Mr. Count of Mash.
Hi, I don't know what to do with myself.
Emily Carvo, also known as Mindhunter.
Hi.
Mr. Jub Jub.
Hello.
Miss Jub Jub.
Jillo.
Pleco. Is that how you say that? Pleco? Plecio?
Plate 0.
Did we lose her?
I think we lost her. We have some
Beautiful
connection
start,
issues.
guys.
Beautiful. We'll reintroduce her in a little bit. So, as our honorary first podcast, I would like to start out by saying welcome everybody. We've got typing in the console. Does everybody see that?
I see it.
I see it.
And Count of Mash.
I'm not looking.
I just wanted to join in because everybody else was.
So this has been this podcast idea has been a long time in the making. Hunter and I, Jub Jub, forgive me.
God.
I'll mute it out later. I'll mute it out.
His
I'll-
real
I'll-
name has been.
I've been compromised.
I'll bleep it out. So
Put mine in there right away.
well, we hadn't decided yet at that point. Well, your name on Discord is Emily Carvo.
Oh shit.
I
Oh no.
was just going by what was in the interview table. So Jub Jub and I started trying to do a podcast a while back concerning
Yeah, it was a
Fallout
while back.
4. This is actually, I believe, when we were both still in college. Do you recall that?
Yeah, that was actually right before it came out. I think we were like, I know at least I was all aboard the hype train there.
Oh, absolutely.
you
and
Yeah, it was
then
bad. Yeah, Haley can attest to that. Dang it.
I am a witness. Hey,
Everybody's
hey,
been
man.
compromised. It's gonna be a nightmare to edit later.
Oh my God, yeah, that's okay though. But as we unfortunately found out later, it was not meant to be that great, unfortunately.
Oh, best game ever played. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Has anybody seen video of the actual VR?
Yes, actually.
Really? Can you tell me about that? I actually don't know anything about it.
It came out and it was like really, really poorly optimized. You have to do a ton of things to get it to work properly for whatever reason. But a lot of the updates lately have apparently made it a little bit better.
Okay.
But I mean, I can't afford a VR or a computer that can run VR, so that's not even something I'm interested in.
They say my computer is VR compatible, but I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's kind of a niche market right now because there's just not really a whole lot of games out there that are, I don't know, really worth putting that kind of money into. I guess.
Right, because you don't want to drop $700 as the initial entry point to a hobby.
Exactly. To get kind of low quality indie third party games. I don't even. Yeah, it's. I don't know.
Give it another like 3 years.
See, that's what I was
Probably
thinking.
got something pretty awesome. I mean, right now it's cool. Has anybody in here actually sat down with a VR headset?
Yeah.
I attempted one at a Jones Land party 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, I did that same one. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was. I saw the whale go by.
I was gonna do it last year, but then I fell down the stairs skating.
Oh, dang it!
Hey, you know what? You know who's hosting this? It's Cody. It's Cody.
Let's just all get it out there in the open.
Eventually, they're gonna figure it out. So, I
It's
knew,
over.
man.
Oh.
Well,
Sorry. Okay.
anyway, yeah, VR is such a cool concept right now, but and they have started to introduce. I know they just incorporated a wireless like headset now.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of people's
Don't you
complaints. Was the
actually, guys?
wires were just everywhere.
It kind of messed with everything, especially because
Yeah.
it kind of broke the immersion if you're tripping over cables. And it's not all the way there yet, but wireless was a good step. It's just a step in the
Yeah.
right direction. because-
Did you ever see that Markiplier video where he had like the big, like a hamster ball kind of looking thing?
I do remember
You know what I'm talking
that was
about?
at I think that was at an E3. Like,
That might have been.
2 or 3 years ago. It was a cool concept, but once again, okay, you'd have to have a specific room for that because that's
Oh yeah.
basically a human-sized ball that you just climb in, and it enters you, or you're in a virtual reality game with that headset on and everything. But the problem is it's not natural walking. It's kind of like you're
It's got
always
like
running
yeah.
up a hill.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel right whenever you're running. It's still a cool concept though, because that opens up like
Well,
cool world.
VR is such a hard thing to sell too because it's kind of hard to convey what the VR experience is unless you actually try it.
Right. I could not explain it to somebody until,
Yeah.
and even then afterwards. The only thing I can compare it to is like when you're on a roller coaster and it's like you're safe, right? Like you
Yeah.
were strapped in, you were good, but your brain cannot turn off the fact that you're falling at a very fast rate. So you emotionally and physically feel the effects as if you were in danger of that way.
Yeah.
And VR is the same way, where your brain can't separate between the game and reality, even though you know it to be true.
Well, and that's another thing I think is kind of stuck in this weird limbo where a lot of people, there's a lot of people that don't want to get it because they're waiting for better games, or they don't want to get it because they just not interested, and
Sure.
it's kind of, but it's kind of hard to market because it's like, how do you sell them an experience that you can't really get a hold of in your mind without actually experiencing it, and I mean, because like that was when I tried it out. Like it was such a really cool thing. Like I did that little I don't even remember what the game was. It was like an art deal where you could draw something, and it was just really, it was kind of a concept that I never really had to mess with. But it was like I drew like a circle in this like dark room, and then all of a sudden I could just like walk around it, and I could look at it from all these different angles. No, it's just such a freaking cool thing that I've never been able to do in another video game, and
Right.
and which then you hear these horror stories about like Skyrim VR and like people like immediately barfing when they try to mount a horse.
Oh yeah, because
When they try to what?
Like because like when you get like in Skyrim, when you get on a horse, it does that little animation. Well, it'll do the same thing when you're in VR, but it's just so disorienting that it'll just like make you barf.
I think she thought you were just into weird internet stuff.
Oh no.
Didn't know what was happening.
Well, the desire for virtual reality is out there. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I mean, virtual reality goes back way,
Sure.
way back.
Oh, yeah,
I think like the first type of headsets were introduced in like 1993 by Sega, I believe. It's definitely a technology that's been around and has been out there, but like because 20 years ago, close to 20 years ago, a little bit longer than 20 years ago actually, it's just a cool concept. People like the idea. I mean, the whole point of playing video games is to immerse yourself in a particular world or story that you can escape your own reality. At least that's what most people use it for. And it's just entertainment. It's kind of like watching any type of movie or anything, except you actually you actually follow through and do the things that you see on TV. It's definitely out there, and getting yourself more immersed is putting on the VR headset. It's just now we're slowly moving into the technology that can actually use this without it being some weird.
Well, let me throw
Yeah.
this question on the table. Do you think that there's a possibility that the rate at which technology is increasing and the rate at which people are becoming interested in VR will not be able to support the popping of the bubble, if you will? For instance, we need an overall popularity to make commercial VR sustainable, correct?
Yeah.
Do you think that the underground nature of it, as of right now, will ever be able to increase to the point where it becomes viable? Meaning that if we don't, we will lose out on our chance to have commercial VR.
Well, to me, VR just needs like one really big defining game. Like they really need like
That's an excellent point.
like,
Kind of like Halo for
everyone was-
Xbox.
yeah, or like everyone was like really iffy on the Wii. What is the Switch?
Yeah.
And then the Breath of the Wild comes right out of the door and knocks it out of the park, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is a system that can actually work." And
Which
I
we
think
got to
that's
think
what
about
VR
something
needs.
though, is what does VR do that is necessarily different from current gaming. Meaning, if you make a first-person shooter VR game, in essence, you are just getting more immersed into the same game genre that you were before. I don't know what potential game that could bring something new while also utilizing a technology. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I guess that's just something we'll have to find out.
I mean, like, well, I mean, it's way better. I mean, the more immersed you get, the better a game is.
Absolutely.
Sure.
If you've ever sat down in a VR headset and actually played for an extended amount of time, I mean, it depends on the game. Like, obviously, the cheap PS4 headset they come out with, and how they want to do Fallout 4 VR and Skyrim VR, the movement is kind of weird and disorienting because you can either actually I know in some games you can like kind of just shake the remotes like in a running animation, and it causes your character to move forward in some games. And that, I guess, is a step in the right direction as far as weird movement goes.
You get that's one big complaint is like most of the games that have like that kind of scale, you can't, for whatever reason, they can't get that movement down like in like a natural with like thumbsticks or whatever. So you have to do that teleporting thing.
Yeah, it's just the constraint of what we're given. I mean, like, obviously you can't turn your living room into Skyrim.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's just not possible right now. The way headsets are set up right now. I mean, like, you can't do that unless you just walk outside your door and go out to the outside world. But that's dangerous.
There could be a few complications.
I don't know if maybe some listeners might know what I'm talking about if they're into anime, but there's an anime out there called Sword Art Online. As much flack as that anime it received, they have the whole concept of the game is, or the concept of the show is that these people get trapped in a virtual reality world, but it's a product that's released where you just put this headset in and it puts you to sleep, but it sends your consciousness to the virtual world where you're actually in that world.
That's cool.
It's
That
your
sounds
consciousness
very
in that
similar.
world.
Sorry.
I've heard about that one because my little sister watches it. She was telling me about it.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it and like, okay, the show aside, I mean, like, cool, whatever, it's an anime, but the actual concept behind the product on there is what I was mostly interested in. The show aside, it was a really cool thing where you can just like, you put on this headset and you're there, like you're in that fantasy world or whatever the show carried on and went to other worlds, but you're actually in that world. It's your consciousness in that world. We're nowhere near that technology, and probably won't for the next like 50 years.
That sounds like Black Mirror, and I'm not about that life.
Okay,
Black Mirror.
No,
Who's familiar with Black Mirror?
What was that thing out of Assassin's Creed?
The Animus.
The Animus, yeah, that's what it kind of reminds me of a little bit.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of like the Animus as well. Like, I mean, the Animus is just really cool because you're going back into
Your
historical
ancestors'
events
memory, yeah,
using
so
DNA.
God, if I knew if there was such thing as an Animus, I know my dumb luck. I'd like, go back to my ancestors' memory and like be farming for 100 million hours.
Wait, guys! While we're on the topic, Assassin or Templar, go.
Ooh,
Templar.
Okay, there's gonna be discord in y'all's house. Hey, yeah, the puns are real.
The whole point in the Templar is to create order, and I myself personally ascribe to order.
Politics. It's a bunch of bull crap.
I'm just saying.
I gotta go
If everybody spends all of their time. Oh, do we have our last member?
Yes.
Very
Alright,
nice.
yeah.
All right, so is it Pleco?
Yup.
Pleco, welcome Pleco. We introduced her way earlier. Unfortunately, we were having some difficulties, but we were able to make it happen. So welcome.
Let's see how long it takes for us to say her real name. I give us like 5
I'm on
minutes.
it.
Who hasn't been outed yet?
No, everybody's been outed except her now.
Except for
Yeah.
Pleco.
Sweet. Anonymous.
It'll happen.
Not for long. But
Templar, you have to have order, and the assassins, all they are is a bunch of anarchists.
I love that.
I disagree.
What
Well,
happens when the world
we're-
falls into anarchy, huh? We'll go back to tribalism. Everybody's killing their throats. The Templar
Oh man,
represent a greater good.
dude, I love the whole concept of the civilization before like everything that we know. Like I love that, and that was my favorite part of all the Assassin's Creed. I wanted to know more about that. Like in the end of which one was that? Was that Revelations?
that
Yeah.
was, no, that was the end of 3. Whenever you figure out there's an actual
Yeah.
civilization, where
I thought
it's
that
like
was so freaking cool.
I can't remember the main character's name, but he died. Oh, spoilers.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Desmond. What
Yeah,
is his name?
Desmond Miles. Desmond Miles.
Wait, Desmond
Oh,
dies?
I can't believe you told us.
Anyway,
I didn't
Granted,
get a
it's like
choice.
10 years old now, so it's not like...
Yeah.
we're getting slightly off topic, but I
Do we
didn't
have a
mean to
topic?
get us.
I don't know that we have a topic. This is all the natural flow.
I think virtual reality. There's a market out there
Oh,
for it.
wow, this sun going all the way back to A.
Yikes.
We like to keep a nice ordered structure for our podcast.
We're
Uh,
people.
I threw the script out long ago. But all jokes aside, the market is there. I mean, especially with the rise and the fall, and also the rise of YouTube Let's Players.
Yeah.
Like we've already mentioned Markiplier, but there's a lot of other higher or more popular YouTube Let's Players.
Which that's another thing we could talk about. YouTube needs to get their freaking crap together.
Oh,
Jesus,
well,
good
that could be
God.
the next
Amen.
part. Let's-
We got
But,
time. We got approximately 28 more minutes.
Nice, but just because you see, okay, the generation that's coming up. I mean, we're slightly older. We're not like super old or anything.
We're getting old.
We're getting old, guys.
I just
But
planned for retirement. I'm old.
the
That's so
generation
sad.
that's coming up behind us are so, I guess, enthralled by these popular YouTubers.
Yeah.
Or YouTubers,
Yes.
I guess. I sound like an old man.
Dang kids.
Those
Darn
damn kids.
hooligans.
Uh,
Snappers.
Emily and I were talking in our last podcast concerning what I felt was the natural flow of a gaming related community, where you start with
Oh my god.
a game that is typically underground. We'll take Minecraft. We'll take PUBG. Any game that you like. That's not made by a AAA company right off the bat. It starts out underground. You have a unique niche, right?
Yeah.
And then as whatever quality this game has, as it is exposed, and typically at a very fast rate, at that point, the community starts to pull in people who are not a part of that niche, right? So you either get a bunch of gatekeepers who were originally a part of that niche, right? People who think that they're better than everybody else because they did it the old way or whatever. Or you have such a massive influx that you actually get the younger generation, which causes oil and water, which I think is what's happened on an overall stage with YouTube itself. Where in the past, like Caden and I would watch YouTube videos of Markiplier way before he hit multiple millions,
Yeah.
watching KSP and stuff, and it was very indie-like, right? And now everything is so commercialized that I feel like it's lost a little bit of the magic that I loved. And I don't know if that's because it's older or what, but I don't know. It just feels like when I start up a YouTube video and it's equivalent to watching it on a Roku.
Oh man. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I've been wondering that same question myself because to me it's kind of like that same freaking, I don't know, piss stain, whatever you want to call it. Like stupid. It's just everywhere. It's like it's even in game design now, if that even makes sense. Like, and I think that's kind of what happened to Fallout 4, maybe, and a lot
Oh,
of
because they
modern
were
games.
trying to be inclusive of the overall population
It
instead
got very
of the
very casualized, I
right,
guess.
right. Yeah, no, okay, yeah. And I think that
And
is a response to the massive popularity that happened with Skyrim.
well, and it's not even just that. I mean, it's just like, do y'all? I don't. It might just be me, but do y'all feel like all these modern AAA games that are coming out recently just all feel familiar or very
Yeah.
That's because
like
they're all following the same
Hmm.
formula.
Yeah.
they all got this same. It's this weird scheduled reward system. Like you play. We're in this culture that can't be bored for 1 second. Yeah, and the only reason I'm saying this, I've been playing Fallout 2 lately, and it is such a different experience. Like, cause it's old. It's very old,
Right.
and I just wanted to play it just to see the roots of Fallout, and because
And
Fallout's my
I've
favorite video
seen you
game.
play a lot of Age of Empires 2 in that
Oh, I
same
love Age of Empires too. God, I love
area
Age of
as
Empires
far as
too.
timeline
Yeah.
goes.
Well, and it's just so different because nothing about that game holds your hand. Nothing about that game tells you where to go. You have to figure out everything yourself. There's not even like there's the only journal you get is just it tells you kind of like the last person you talk to and like sort of the last bit of information you got. So like it might say something like you need to get or like you'll say something like go to this guy in this city and like that's it. Like that's all you get. Like there's nothing else. And um I don't know. It's just everything feels so dumbed down. Like
Like it's not a challenge anymore.
Yeah.
almost like I'm being manipulated.
You
If
go
Right.
that
through
makes
the motions.
sense.
You're boarding the ride. You're sitting
You
there.
can-
You paid for your ticket, and now you're just going on a cruise. You're going down the coast, like the just the cruise, I guess. You're just looking at all the sights. Like, oh, that's pretty over there.
Yeah.
Because it's nice. It is pretty. The new games are extremely pretty.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I get what you're
You
saying.
can
like,
actually watch the progression of exactly what you're talking about with Minecraft itself. Now, if you Emily recently joined the Minecraft adventure, right? But if you compare the now Minecraft to the one, and I know I joked about it while we are playing about get off my lawn type deal, but like now you get a recipe book right by the crafting table that tells you everything. In the
Yeah.
past,
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
you see what I'm saying? In the past, and here's another thing too. In the past, it was simpler to a degree, and in a way that is a good thing because as you add more things, you know, you can be more creative and stuff. But I don't know. In the past, concerning back to the crafting, it did not hold your hand. If you wanted to know something,
Oh,
you either
dude,
A,
yeah.
goofed around or you had to Google it, and that took
You
time.
get that wiki page up, man.
Yeah, you did. That's why I wanted two monitors to begin with, so I could do that. But now
Dude.
it's all, and you get auto jump. Now, granted, that is pretty sweet. But on the other hand, in the past, I don't know. I think the gaming industry, and if you look at it on a bigger scope as well, not just gaming, but I think in this day and age, as far as media industry, you can look at it with movies, you can look at it with music. That everyone is so
Social media.
afraid
Definitely.
to try something new
Yeah.
that they followed the last formula that worked, and now we are getting stages
Marvel
2
movies.
and 3.
Oh, I was just about to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
There's nothing new coming out anymore because all these industries are so afraid of losing money, and they know that they can throw out a crappy product and people will buy it because a lot of them have never experienced.
And they've found this nerve center in your brain that is kind of like sending that signal that very addictive signal
Sure.
of just that reward system. It's the same thing that's behind microtransactions right now. I mean, have you looked at is that
Right.
instant gratification? Have you looked at the freaking numbers of how much money microtransactions make and just the freaking crap that you're buying with that? I don't get it. Like, who is spending this? And why?
Can I be
Those
super
are the
honest
whales.
with you? I totally bought a couple keys on PUBG.
No, when I say the wells, those are like the people who have a ridiculous amount of money,
True.
and
Yeah.
they can afford to throw hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, I've only
at-
spent like $750 on it, and that's over a period of like a month.
which-
Even
which
then,
I'm
though,
not- I wouldn't say that's necessarily a bad thing, and I say that in the sense of like microtransactions, depending on how they're working and everything, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Sure.
Because
I think pay to win is a terrible thing.
exactly,
That's disgusting.
Pay to win, like when EA was first launching Battlefront 2.
Oh my god, that was such a
Oh,
shit
dude,
show.
EA stock went to the floor for about a week, and then you know what? Here's the sad thing. Is it went down for a little while, and then people forgot. That's a big part of this new day and age. Is people are so blasted with new information.
Watch my left hand. Do not pay attention to the right hand.
People
Exactly.
forgot their stock actually is higher now than it was
EA,
before.
yeah.
Well, and if you ever just like went and like looked on like some of the comments that are like in those videos for like Star Wars Battlefront 2 or something, like people are like, you know, they're like defending it. And I'm like, y'all, there is better games for like half that price.
Yeah.
What
like
are you
Battlefront
doing?
2.
Yeah, but don't waste your time. Just don't even bother with it.
The problem is
Like-
people don't know
Go
anymore.
ahead.
You're so blasted with advertisements that honest to God, right now, if I wanted to find a really, really great RPG that's kind of in the middle of nowhere, do you know where I'd have to go? I would have
Back
to
in
talk
time.
to one of you guys and hope to God you'd seen something. You see what I'm saying? They don't get advertised. You have to go word of mouth, and in this day and age, word of mouth is not like it used to be.
Oh no.
It's been
It-
damaged by external advertisements
And advertisements are everywhere.
everywhere. You cannot escape them anymore.
It's disgusting.
Unless you want to pay more money.
Unless you, yeah. Hey, you want to get rid of ads? Spotify Premium,
Yeah.
which
Oh, man.
I pay for
Oh.
premium because I love.
Yeah, speaking of new RPGs though, and you know what? Even though what we just talked about, I still go out and buy a new game and everything because have been some newer games out
Okay, yeah,
there
sure.
that have come
Sure.
out that are really freaking good. One recently that I purchased, I actually haven't like really gotten into it or anything like that, but Hollow Knight, I got.
Let
it
me
for-
let me pause
haven't
you
played
here
it.
really quick. Caden, you have always been really good about finding these games that I was just talking about, and I don't really understand how. You have always been able to find kind of the underground games. Most of the games that I've played that most people didn't know about were because of you. I want to say KSP was one of them. KSP, the only reason was because you told me about it and we watched Markiplier do it. So
I have great taste.
I suppose so. So what is your secret, if you will? What is your formula to find these games that are buried in the mud by all the advertisements?
YouTube.
Well, Hunter took it right out of my mouth. No, I mean, like, I don't know. I just watch YouTube. It's just like I have a certain taste in games, like just random games that I find that are interesting.
Oh yeah, I have a very specific taste.
And then I look through. I don't know. I just look in the same genre, like on Steam or something like that, and I just go through the list and see these interesting games that pop up, and I was like, okay, that looks cool. And then I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that question other than I just find them.
Sure.
There is one game that I'm looking forward to coming out, and actually, our time 2 days from now, because it is February the 11th. Right
Oh,
now.
Kingdom Come Deliverance. I already know
Kingdom
exactly. Oh my
Come
god.
Deliverance.
I am so ready. My body is
All
ready
right,
for this game.
as
Oh my
somebody
gosh.
as somebody who has never heard of this game, at this moment, the only time I've heard it before was actually about 20 minutes ago from Caden. As somebody who's never heard of it, why are you guys so excited?
Okay.
It just looks different.
And this is for the
that's
viewers
what I
too, if they
want.
don't know it either.
Like that's been my problem all last year. Like looking back last year, everyone keeps talking about like all the amazing games that came out last year, and honestly, my favorite games that I played were old games that I bought, like on sale, like Mountain Blade, Warband, and like crap like that.
Oh my gosh, Mountain Blade.
I
is
love Mountain
so
Blade. It is
freaking
so good. I love it. But like, it was just not like everything felt so familiar and the same. But this one, like Kingdom Come, really looks. I mean, it's
Now,
an
what are
indie
you judging
developer.
this off of? Are you judging this off of advertisements
I-
or pre-access
No,
YouTubers? Or
Yeah, like just some streaming from YouTubers. It does look. I don't know.
so
it
you've seen
looks
actual
different.
gameplay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just the gameplay I have seen has been the I guess it was the beta, but it still looked pretty, kind of clunky. I'm just hoping that gets cleaned up.
I haven't watched any gameplay of this game. That's because like gameplay and graphics and everything isn't really what in my particular taste.
Yeah.
It's not what really gets me. I mean, like if the game has great graphics, it's actually one of the lower end of my list of things that make a game great. Gameplay, as long as it's bearable and I can if the controls aren't just obtuse, and I can enjoy the game. But really, what captures me is whatever story's behind it.
Okay, so you're a story
Kingdom
guy.
Mhm.
Kingdom Come Deliverance, and I'm going to read off exactly the title and like the description, short description,
Do it.
just so people who are listening, if they haven't bothered looking it up. But Kingdom Come Deliverance is a single player RPG, kind of like The Witcher 3 and everything.
But it's not
Uh,
fantasy.
it's not fantasy though. That's the cool thing. It's based
That's
off
the
of
cool
real
thing. Yeah.
historical events.
I
It
think
takes
it's the Kingdom of Bohemia. What was
Yeah,
it?
the story takes place in
Bohemia.
1403, in the uprisings of Bohemia.
Bohemia. Thank
It
you.
it centers around the main character Henry, and it's got Henry's just like a character that they just created so you could play as him. But I'll just read off the description real fast. The story takes place in 1403 as an uprising racks Bohemia. On the orders of King Sigismund and of Hungary and Croatia, Cuman mercenaries, I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, so my bad, raid the mining village of Skalitz, a major source of silver. One of the survivors of that massacre is your character, Henry, the son of a blacksmith. You are vengeful against these dudes. Henry joins the service of Lord Radzig Kobila. Kobila? I'm terrible with these names. Who
Dude,
leads a resistance movement against Sigismund's invasion. As Henry pursues justice for his murdered family, he becomes involved in an effort to restore Bohemia's rightful king, Wenceslas IV, to the
Wait a minute. What's his name?
Wenceslas.
Wenceslas. That sounds like Worcestershire sauce.
Which is funny. I actually had steak a little while ago.
Anyway, sorry.
But I don't know. From what I've been told and what I've heard about the game, is that it's based on historical events. Obviously, not
yeah.
true to everything, but it's kind of. I imagine it's probably going to be. Hopefully not exactly like the first Assassin's Creed, maybe like the second Assassin's Creed,
What do
where
you
it's
mean by that?
well, the first one it wasn't like all based on history, but the way that Assassin's Creed 1 delivered their game
Oh,
was
yeah.
extremely boring.
Yeah, it was. It was.
It- it- but
Which, in their defense, they did quickly correct for the sequel.
yeah. But Kingdom Come, it's supposed to be it's supposed to encourage multiple playthroughs from what this is what I've heard and everything, because all these events are happening kind of like in real time where you have to make decisions on where you go and what you do.
It sounds
can't
like a true RPG.
Yeah, you're not going to be part of everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're the main character, you're going through your story, but you have choices to make throughout the game that allow you to take part in events, certain historical events. Maybe you could be you could decide whether or not to go to this kingdom to see this person, or you're going to go over to here, this area, because there's a great battle going on and uh you're going to help out this battle. But you have the choice to either going to the battle or going to this other kingdom. If you don't go to the battle, they might lose, and barbarians might take over that area or something. Or if you don't go to the kingdom, you might miss out on meeting a certain character that might be important later on. I'm not. That's just me thinking of what the game's going to be like from what I've been told. I'm not saying that's an actual thing that's happening in the game.
I've actually been doing a lot of research because I want to know, and they're kind of keeping it tight-lipped a little bit. But I actually, it's kind of funny. I listened to a podcast on YouTube, and the guys that are running the podcast actually had a interview with the dude that is over like the PR in America for that game.
Hmm.
And it it really sounds interesting, but that he wasn't really able to give a whole lot of details about anything. But like there's some really cool skills that have not been in other RPGs. Like there's a reading skill because most people back then were illiterate. So when you first pick up a book, all the letters are going to be scrambled, and you have to level up your
That is
reading
actually
skill.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, so you have to level up your reading skill before you're able to make out anything in this book. And like the alchemy skill, like is like super in depth. Where like if you boil something too long, it's gonna be bad. Like you have to like visually look at something and like it's not gonna hold your hand. It's not Skyrim where you're clicking two things and pop potion. It's
I've also heard that the saving mechanic in the game is drinking alcohol.
Yes.
Oh yes.
I don't know if that's actually true or not, but that's what I've heard. Like you have to have alcohol on you to be able to save out in the field.
Well, I've heard a lot of about the like you have to eat and sleep and all that kind of stuff, and it all sounds very very realistic. And that's actually kind of one of my worries is that it might be so hyper realistic that
That it becomes hard, like super difficult.
Like
not
tedious.
really. Yeah, tedious is the word
Okay.
I'm looking for. Like I'm having to micromanage everything, and I don't want to have to be constantly getting taken out of what
Which
I'm
some
doing.
people get off on that kind of thing. Have you ever seen the mods for Skyrim?
Oh yeah, like the was it Frostfall or whatever?
Yeah, where like you have to watch
Yeah.
everything you do. Like I'm not about that. I appreciate it, but
It could be like the new game that just recently came out, Monster Hunter World.
I want to play that.
I've been playing it.
It just looks so grindy.
It is a very grindy game.
I don't like
it's not-
grind.
It's not for everybody,
Yeah.
but they have mechanic eating in that game, which it's not required that you actually eat in the game, but eating gives you certain bonuses like to your health and stamina and everything that could really turn the tide of a battle or turn the tide of the hunt, trying to hunt down a specific beast of some sort.
Man.
If you've ever played the previous Monster Hunters, anybody who's listening, go get yourself Monster Hunter World if you haven't already, and don't be afraid. Well, I guess this comes back to my taste and everything. I
Yeah.
don't care too much about graphics, as much as I do actual game being good.
Yeah.
I'm fine with playing Monster Hunter World on my Xbox One. And yes, that's the Xbox One, not the Xbox One S, the Xbox One
None of
X,
that. No.
the original OG one, Xbox One.
The
Because,
big black brick.
yes, the big black brick that I have underneath my TV.
Which that
because
was-
I'm a cheap boy and don't want to buy another one.
that Emily and I were discussing that earlier about the pros and cons of PC versus console. So a lot of people are, like I mentioned earlier, kind of gatekeepers on the matter. Like you shouldn't do PC gaming unless you've got water cooling and you've got 16 auxiliary fans and junk. I'm of the type where you do you, man. You know what I'm saying? So
I love my Xbox.
right, I don't think they're
Yeah.
mutually exclusive. I think you can have a PC and an Xbox and be hunky dory. Like I don't think you have to.
if you well, I'm not gonna call anybody out or anything like that. But I mean, like, yeah, the whole war against like PC versus consoles and everything.
To me, it's just ignorant.
I just don't.
To me, the only people that are even participating in that are like the people that keep talking about it, if that makes sense. Like it keeps
So
getting.
we're contributing to.
So yeah, we
Yeah,
are contributing to
kinda.
the loop.
Yeah, well, it's always that stupid thing that somehow inevitably ends up in your Facebook feed, and you're just like, why? I don't.
Why? Sounds like you need a good
First off-
purge.
First off, how did I end up on Facebook?
Yeah,
But
there we
second
go.
off, no, it I don't know. It's just enjoy gaming for what it is. It's just like just game up on
fun.
whatever you
Well,
want, man.
I think unfortunately we are hitting close to our maximum time here. I think we've had a very very healthy conversation on people's
Yeah, did
effective
everybody
games.
listening jot down a list of all the topics
Things you
we
need to
covered?
try. But well, guys, I definitely appreciate you joining on this evening's podcast. Thank you all. So we'll we'll get it real soon.
Bye.
Everybody feeling good? Nah, I mean, all right. We will see you next time. Thank you for watching. It's been Lost Element.
Bye.